as you go along and you grow the business, the challenges do get bigger. There's no doubt about it, but you're surrounded with more resources to be able to combat those challenges.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Shopify Masters, the weekly podcast powered by Shopify, your companion for starting and building a business. I'm your host, Felix Thiel. Did you know that the North American food industry creates hundreds of billions of dollars worth of waste each year? Well, Nick Spina wanted to change that. So he launched Ethey. It's a ready-to-eat meal delivery company, and it's zero waste. Nick is here to tell us all about his journey from finding the right production facility to launching a subscription model. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us more, what does 0% food waste mean, and what does that mean for how your business looks?
So we started out originally as, just focusing on healthy meals, to help kind of with your busy lifestyle and really revolving around health and for your body and your mind. And now we're evolving into your body, your mind, and our planet as well. And what I mean by that is Ethey is based on 0% food waste. And so all the food scraps that we have in the facility goes down into a worm farm, and the worms eat the food scraps, which turn into worm castings, which is worm poop. And then that gets used for a number of different reasons, such as gardening and farms and whatnot. And so we've got the full, true, sustainable loop in the business there.
Awesome. So you have a pretty long track record of entrepreneurship from different types of industries and businesses. Tell us more about the journey leading up to Ethey.
Yeah. So, ever since I was a kid, I've always been an entrepreneur. I was shoveling my neighbor's driveway, the snow off their driveways during the night. And I was super tired, but I loved every single second about it. It was never about the money. Right out of high school, I got right into business. I started off actually as a marketing manager at a local venue in town and a bartender. And I quickly became the general manager of the business of about 65 people. So that was a great first bite at, managing a real business. By the time I was 22, I actually took over kind of a district manager role of the entire hospitality group. And we managed over 9 different locations across Canada. And we had about 400 staff. And so that was a mix of venues, restaurants, hotels, and whatnot. And, in the middle of running somebody else's business, I had always wanted to start my own. So I took the leap of faith when I was 23, and I saved up every dollar that I had. And I put it into a closed down venue in London, Ontario. That was the largest venue in town. It held over 2,500 people. And I think 30 days before opening is when we started construction. So you can imagine what we had to complete within 30 days, a lot of sleepless nights. And I think the opening night, we still had wet paint on the walls. So it kind of shows you, what we had to do to make the magic happen. And, definitely didn't sleep at all. I think on opening night, we had over 4,000 people in our parking lot. And so I did that for 2.5 years. In the middle of this, I had another company, which was a clothing line, and ended up selling that to somebody at Walmart. In between all this, I had no time to, or quite frankly, the desire to make my own meals for myself. So I thought of a friend of mine who's a chef could maybe make my meals for me. So I gave him a call and I said, hey, Chef Matthew, I've been eating out at a local restaurant twice a day, salmon, rice, and broccoli. I've been doing that for 3 months. Would you make my meals for me? And he said, Nick, sure, let's do it. And then that's when the real light bulb went off. And I thought, hey, maybe there's other people out there like myself that could use something like this. So I went back to him and I said, hey, Chef Matthew, what do you think about this idea? And he said, Nick, I'll quit my job today and become employee number 1.
I think one of the things that is impressive to me is this kind of speed from idea to execution, specifically about Ethey, but I'm sure similar experiences that you had with previous businesses. Tell us more about how either your mindset or your mental model from an idea for a business to kind of getting things rolling as quickly as possible.
I think like a lot of people tend to think that they need to have all their ducks in a row to get started on something. And I'm a little unique in a sense of where, I just think that you just need to get started. And, it's about, the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And, it's just taking those bites. And that's the way I like building businesses. And, it's just, let's get right at it. Time is the one thing that we don't have on our side. So may as well take advantage of it and move as fast as possible. And, just take the right steps in the right direction. And that's a lot of people get hesitant to start things because they think that they have to do a whole 100 different things before they start. I'm kind of, like I said, just, let's get right at it and let's go move as fast as possible.
Do you know certain things that you feel like that whenever you start a new business, or if you were to start a new business right now, are kind of like table stakes, like things that you have to do? And then on the other side of it, like what are some things that you see other entrepreneurs, wasting time doing, especially in the early days?
I think some like a really, and now I support a lot of different entrepreneurs, especially with the, with our model now of merging and acquiring great-minded businesses and kind of working together to grow. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs like to say, hey, I've done this on my own. And the day that you start leaning on people for help or, kind of tapping into other people's experience and working together to grow the business, you can grow a lot faster. You can pull together a lot more resources very fast. So, especially as the business gets bigger, you're going to need to surround yourself with, incredible people. And, we're at this stage in the business now where I highly believe that we've surrounded ourselves with some of the best people in the world to be able to, make a big impact on the planet of what we're doing. And, that's just the stage of business that we're at. And, we've brought together some fantastic people such as, Gary Vaynerchuk, COO of FedEx Global, and, just to say the least of a number of extremely fantastic people that are, helping grow the business. And I think that, just leaning on the right people and people that you trust to be able to grow the business with you is very important. And I think even from an early stage in the businesses, it could be very helpful. And I think even, the great success that we've had, looking back at it, we may have been able to grow a bit faster in our early years if I would have maybe just leaned on some of the right people in the beginning. And I think it's definitely okay to ask for people to join the your vision to grow it together.
When you first started, when you were maybe just working out of your friend's one kitchen, what was the kind of big idea then, and how has that grown over time?
We wanted to be the biggest meal delivery service in our city, and fully cooked meal delivery service, and we achieved that within the first number of months. And so these goals and change, as the business grows. And now, we're the largest, number one in Canada, and we're going to be making a very big impact in the US, and we want to go global at some point as well. And beyond that, we want to reach over the next 10 years. We're very confident we're going to be able to reach 10 billion meals sold. And with that, we're going to also help save 10 billion pounds of food waste within this process of growing the business. So, from starting at, being the largest and best meal delivery service in Little London, Ontario, and now we're, looking at 10 billion meals. So, we've definitely exponentially grown, and it's amazing, and you see, the first couple of weeks of operating 6 years ago, we saw 10 packages leave the door, and now we're seeing, entire trucks leaving the building, delivering meals all over the country. So it's invigorating. It's truly remarkable.
How much do you have to know about how to reach that big goal before you set it? Like you said, I want to be number one in my city. How clear do you see that path to getting there, or is that important or not?
I think that the important thing is there's no cookie, there's no recipe to overcome every challenge. There might be a good way of doing something, but there's no perfect way. And I think that's something that people need to understand is that you can only plan so much for a business. And there's, even when let's take COVID, for example, right? There's no book in place for when something like this happens in business. You have to deal with it when it comes to you. So at the core of all this is, how you make decisions on the daily basis, because there's going to be things that are unplanned that come to you. So I highly believe in just getting started. And it's really about the ability to be able to make decisions on a daily basis that makes you successful. And, some of those decisions can be catastrophic. And so it's important to make sure that you really sit down and think everything out thoroughly, and also lean on the right people for information. And, I heard something very interesting. The number one reason why most companies fail and large companies is because the CEOs or leaders of these businesses are getting poor information or poor quality information from the people around them, or from what they're looking up. So they're not able to make good decisions based on that information that they receive. So that's an important thing of making sure that you also have really good, knowledgeable people around you, and that you've got a really good finger on the pulse of your industry and what's going on. And that's going to make you more successful in the long run.
Now, with that in mind, what do you think you have this kind of sharpest eye for, that you feel like you have a lot of clarity on the information, the context, and you feel really confident in a particular area where you are making decisions? And on the other side, what are some kind of blind spots you feel like you have to tread more carefully?
I think one of my really big strengths is understanding people. And I think you have to understand people to understand business. And, it's because people, at the end of the day, an organization is not just an organization, it's a group of people. And that's what makes the company tick. Also, what's necessary is also to be resilient. I think being resilient is extremely crucial, because there's going to be challenges. Business is full of challenges every day, and it's up to you to decide a maneuver to get around those challenges. And, once upon a time, delivering meals in London, Ontario was difficult. The same as, right out the door. And we figured out a way to do that. And now we figured out a way to get meals from London, Ontario to Los Angeles within 24 hours. So that's the challenges changes as the business kind of matures and whatnot. I think, maybe one of our potential major flaw, it would be, it hasn't happened yet, but would be when we have a big win or whatnot, we may celebrate that win and kind of mentally take our foot off the gas pedal. And that's fine for a very short period of time to be able to relax and enjoy the win, but you don't want to take it off for too long. And in fact, you want to step on the gas even harder to be able to accelerate the business even further. So I think that would probably be one of the points that I'd mention on that.
How do you make sure that's kind of, adopted throughout your entire organization, where you make sure that everyone always has the right information, right data to make their daily decisions?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is just to, one of the best things is to do, especially when it comes to hiring or bringing on advisors, is to make sure they've gotten a proven track record of achieving certain levels of success of the different areas that you want them involved in. And that's really the only way that you can really, make a good decision about bringing someone on in a certain area, for sure. Because, if they don't have that track record, then what do they have to prove that they are able to complete or provide what you want them to provide? And especially when it comes to an advisory position, you want these people to be able to provide, like we've been talking about, pure advice that's going to be accurate advice. And yeah, like I said, the only way to really make a good decision about bringing someone on board is their track record of proven success. And so that's what we look for when it comes to bringing people on. A great example is we wanted to strengthen our logistics side of the business. So we brought on what we strongly believe is the strongest in the world in terms of advisory. And that's the COO of FedEx. And, I don't believe that there's anyone better than that. Obvious proven track record of many, many years in the logistics industry. And, I trust that I'm going to get very pure information or advice and experience and wisdom from him. So that's the key thing when it comes to bringing on people around you, is to look for that.
Now that the business is obviously much bigger than it was when you first started, the advisory board is even more important to the business. But when did you start kind of putting that together? Like a listener out there that has a business that maybe they're just getting started or is in the first year or so of their business, should they start thinking about, should I put together an advisory board? Like, what's your advice here?
Yeah, even if it's official or non-official, I think it's important to put together some sort of an advisory, group of people where you can go to and ask questions. Like it or not, at the end of the day, everyone doesn't know everything. Even at the highest levels of business, people are surrounded by people who are very wise in certain areas. And I think even at an early stage, it's important to have maybe an unofficial advisory board that you can put together to help you grow the company.
The first cup of coffee, it was awful.
Meet Rod Johnson, co-founder of Black & Bold, a premium specialty coffee and tea company powered by Shopify.
The journey of Black & Bold started with us opening our online Shopify store while we were burning beans in my business partner's garage. Shopify allows us to stay true to our mission by having an easily customizable and responsive site. They make it very easy for novices to try their hand in becoming entrepreneurs.
Get a free 14-day trial at shopify.com/podcast.
Now, as you were scaling the business up from being, just in the kitchen and 10 meals into the biggest in your city, biggest in Canada, on a way to being one that entered into the kind of larger North American market, how the challenges changed? Have they just gotten bigger, of the same problems, or are they completely different problems? Tell us more about how the problems changed as you scaled up.
Well, it's really interesting. I think the weight of the problems felt the same at that stage in the business. But as a business, as we overcome those challenges and we grew, it's just the problems did in fact get more challenging. But we got wiser and brought wiser people in the business as we grew, and we worked together to overcome these challenges. But they definitely felt the same size at that point in the business. And, it's an interesting kind of thing to go by, is at whatever point in the business that you're at, the challenges will probably feel the biggest that they have ever been at that point in the business. I think something interesting too is that the more people and resources that we have around us now, I actually feel that it's slightly easier to run the business, because in the beginning of a business, you have limited resources, limited capital, and you don't have as much to offer people to become a part of your vision. And so I do believe that as you go along and you grow the business, that the challenges do get bigger. There's no doubt about it, but you're surrounded with more resources to be able to combat those challenges. It's quite interesting.
Can you talk about some of the challenges then, as you were, maybe when you first started out, like what were the biggest obstacles that you felt like once you and your team got over, it just felt like an inflection point or a new kind of a new baseline that you're operating in?
It's funny looking back at it, but when we had 3 restaurants that me and we had rented, we didn't have any room to store anything. So I was storing ice packs and boxes and wherever I could. I was using my car as a shipping container to store things in. And, then we actually went out and rented some space to store things in. And then when we had our first facility, we were actually, within, I think, 3 or 4 months, we had completely almost outgrown it. And we had nowhere to store, any of our materials. So I remember everyone working in this environment where we were pumping out these meals, but we had to store all of our shipping materials above everyone's heads in the facility. So we actually ended up duct taping a number of things above everyone working to be able to store these materials, to be able to operate the business. And, we made sure that everyone was extremely happy and whatnot to be able to work in this environment. And it was, it was absolutely remarkable to see, everyone kind of come together to kind of help in these situations. But, we had to deal with that challenge for, quite a little bit. And I remember even, getting a call from, Chef Matthew and saying, "Hey, Nick, we've got an entire truckload of ice packs." At the time, we didn't have a forklift. At the time, we, only had a handful of staff. And so we thought, hey, how the heck are we going to get these ice packs off this truck? Well, I guess we're going to ham bomb it for the next 14 hours. So that's what we did. And it took us 14 hours. And we probably did that for, once a month for probably 6 months until we could afford a forklift. So you just have to be willing to do whatever it takes to, overcome these challenges. But it's interesting when you think back to the challenge of the ice packs in the truck. Well, if we didn't decide to take those ice packs off the truck, we wouldn't have been able to deliver any meals to customers' doorsteps. So the business would have had to stop. The challenges of, let's say the past 2 years is how do you, deliver a meal legally across the country, make sure that it's CFI compliant and whatnot. And, you have to set out. We decided to open up a state-of-the-art facility with the proper regulatory licenses, which take a very long time to get. But that enabled us to, to grow the business across the country. And it was a fantastic decision and a fantastic challenge that we overcame. And did I ever think that I was going to be as well-versed in food science as I am now? Absolutely not. But, did we have to do that to do what we have to do? Absolutely. And I'm extremely happy about it. So it's interesting as you go along in entrepreneurship and you grow, you kind of become a little bit of everything of every kind of career necessary, a little bit of knowledge on the legal side, a bit on the banking side, a bit on the operational side, food science side, marketing, you put on a bunch of different caps as you go along here. And when you can afford someone who's very strong to take over those roles for you, that's a very fantastic and exciting thing.
Were there any kind of opportunities or decisions that you made that changed the trajectory of the business that allowed you to begin to become the number one in the city, and then eventually Canada and so on? Like what kind of big decisions, big bets maybe that you and the team placed that paid off?
Yeah, I think really the big one was opening up our state-of-the-art facility. And that was a very big move. But I believed, here's the thing. People generally don't do things until they see them in their hands. And what I mean by that is that no one likes to start a business unless if they know it's 100% or they have, sales already coming through the door or something. But looking back to day one in the business, for the first couple of weeks, or month, we weren't making money. We were actually, like every business, you don't make money right at the start because you have to put a bit of money into get it off the ground. And, this was not a proven business. There was zero other businesses like this, except for on the raw food side. And, so we were taking a risk, but like I said, I didn't see it as a risk. I felt so strongly about this idea that I could barely sleep beyond not actually deliberately sleeping to operate the business on Sundays. But I had nothing to show for it, but a feeling. And I think that's so important and that's the core of what makes entrepreneurs tick is this certain feeling of vision and whatnot, that you can see it and dream of what your idea could potentially become. And, that's what kept me up at night. So it was a no-brainer for me to start the business. And as we kind of go along and grow the business, we have more things to show for it. But that vision has to keep on getting bigger as you go along to keep that excitement going. Because if you execute properly, you will achieve your vision. But once you achieve that vision, if you want the business to grow even bigger, you have to keep that vision wheel rolling and getting bigger as it goes along. So, when we opened up our facility, did we need a facility that could produce $100 million worth of revenue in at that very day? Absolutely not. But did we need that for the future of the company and where we wanted it to go and where we saw our vision going? Absolutely. So, that's exactly what we did.
What were some of the challenges that you had to face as you were scaling it up, specifically with logistics or the facilities that you opened?
So we had to figure out basically how are we going to get a meal, fully cooked meal from London, Ontario to, say, Vancouver, right? So we had to get the right people involved, and we had to make sure that we found packaging that can keep the food cold for, our packaging can keep the food cold for up to 3 days. All the food arrives to the customer the next day after it's cooked. So that's great. But, once upon a time, these were challenges that we had to overcome. And, and how do you make sure that because we will be delivering meals to Miami, and how are we going to be delivering these meals to Miami safely in the climate that Miami has, and how do we ensure that it gets there on time? So there's a lot of technology that we had to build behind this to be able to track everything, and also figure out certain packaging that's good, that will get the job done. So when these things arise, you just got to find a solution for them, and every challenge is unique. So it's, anyways, I think that's what keeps business exciting, though, is because it's almost like a game.
Yeah, one of the recent changes that you spoke to us about that has made a big difference was adding subscriptions, the subscription model to your business. Tell us more about the decision behind that.
Really, the easy thing about our business is, probably most businesses is getting a customer to buy from you for a first time. But the key is how do you keep them coming back? And then how do you keep them coming back more frequently? And subscriptions definitely help with that. If you can somehow get into a subscription business as an e-commerce entrepreneur, I think it's a very beautiful thing. And I would highly recommend it if you can. And that's really, you can grow a business off of one-time customers. But really it's going to be a lot easier if you have a lot of returning customers, for sure.
What changes do you have to make in your business to support subscriptions?
Definitely the technology side. So working with different partners on board to be able to meet our needs of what we needed, and so a lot of different apps are available on Shopify to be able to support that.
And because with subscriptions, you get this huge bump in retention, you have more predictable revenue. What does that allow? What does that unlock for your business?
So yeah, you've got a lot of more predictable revenue. You've got you don't have to pay marketing dollars to get people necessarily to come back as easy, I guess you would say. So and then also for the customer, it just makes it a lot easier for these people to return to you. People may love your product, but people might forget to come back and order again, right? So this is where the subscription comes in handy, is for people kind of like that, where they just say, hey, I want to put this on autopilot and I would love to receive this every week. And I just don't really want to have to keep going online and clicking checkout again every single time. So if you can get into a business model where you do have subscription, I think it's a very powerful thing.
Awesome. So Ethey.com is a website, ETHEY.com. And I'll leave you this last question. What do you think is the most important thing for you to personally focus on to get the company to that next level?
Definitely vision. There's three things I strongly believe on at any point in the company. And for the point that we're at now is I think making sure that you check this as you go along, these three different points. But I think an extremely strong vision is one that I must have, and any entrepreneur needs to have. Number two is great management and advisors. I think management advisors, that's extremely important. You can't run a business without them. And number three is truly understanding your customers' needs. And, you have to have a product that people want and need. And with those three things, I strongly believe you can run an absolutely fantastic, phenomenal business with.
Nick, I want to thank you for doing this. Nick Spina is the founder of Ethey, a zero-waste, ready-to-eat meal delivery company. Nice chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all the time we have this week. Come hang out with us next time on Shopify Masters. Again, I'm Felix Tia. Take care.